Hey everyone, I have something kind of special for you today. Check this out. This is the new Mk10. This has been kind of a long time coming, and I realize I haven't done a formal YouTube video on the model yet, so I thought I'd do one real quick, kind of walk you through some of the features and tell you a little bit about how to get one if you're interested. This is a knife that I've been designing for the past 6 months or so, based on a sketch I did about a year ago, and I passed it by some friends of mine. And everybody said they'd be real interested in that knife if they could get one, you know, if I would actually produce it. And I went ahead and built them. So this is the Mk10. It is sort of the new evolution in the Moon full-size tactical folding knife. And this knife, the design intent behind it was to build a really good 4-inch folding tactical blade. I hesitate to call it a fighting knife because, in my opinion, you know, obviously if you're going to have a dedicated fighting knife, go with a fixed blade. It's a lot stronger. It never has the ability to fold on you. There are definite advantages with fixed blade knives. That said, if you're stuck in an emergency and this is all you got, this is a pretty good companion to have. I'll show you some of the features here that I think make it a pretty exceptional piece in that regard. But first off, let's talk a little bit about the overall dimensions here. So when closed, the knife's about 5 inches. You get a 4-inch blade, so add that together, you get about 9 inches overall length. It's a big knife. I like big knives personally. I have sort of found them to be a little more useful in my daily routines. I find that you can do a lot of stuff with a 4-inch knife that's about the right size for me personally, because you get a knife that's large enough to accomplish bigger tasks, like in the event of an emergency, self-defense, but also is not so unwieldy that you can't do finer work with it as well. This actually is going to make a fairly decent EDC blade, and depending on what blade shape you get, this one here is a drop point, but it also comes in Tontos and some others which are coming. You can get a pretty decent EDC blade in this if you so choose. Now the blade thickness here, this is 0.1875 inches thick. This blade here is in CPM 154. I'll also be doing some CPM D2 blades as well, and those will be Cerakote finished. There's a guy in Raleigh who's going to be doing that for me, and he has the ability to do some patterns and stuff too, which will be pretty cool. So I have on this particular blade a bead blasted finish, and of course these will be available in all sorts of different finishes. This one here is blasted. I just showed you a satin Tonto. This is a machine satin, not a hand rubbed. Now, the hand rubbed will be available too. This one here is a two-tone. This is a blasted finish with satin finish flats. And I'll show you this one here in just a minute, because this is an example of a premium Mk10. But what you'll notice here on the handle construction, this is a double Bolsterlock, and this is actually built a little differently from the way that most people will do this. Most guys, when they do a Bolsterlock, they'll take a liner and then bolt on bolsters on the ends. You know, sometimes just up here at the pivot area. Sometimes double Bolsterlocks, which is kind of considered a premium knife, they'll have bolsters at the end. The way that I've done mine, it has integral bolsters with a scale that goes into it, and it has a full titanium spine. You'll notice that the way that the frame is constructed, the whole spine here is made out of titanium, and that makes it very rigid. There's no flex in these handles because you know, there's a small thin liner on here. You don't get that with this knife. This is a very rigid, stiff design. It's really tough, and with the integral bolsters on here, you get a really nice strike surface, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So the knife is a flipper, of course. I'm more known for flippers than anything else. In fact, I don't have any other opening methods on any of my folding knives. But I think it's a really great flipper. One of the things that makes it really nice is it has this little milled out cup here, and this allows your finger to get a slightly longer stroke on the trigger here. When you flip this knife, your finger contacts the end of the trigger a little bit longer, just an ever so slightly, you know, just an instant longer, and then it lands in this softened area here. And what that allows you to do is have a really quick, fast flipper. This thing really flies out, and doesn't use a whole lot of pressure on your finger to do that. One of the other really nice things is, I designed this handle to basically ergonomically fit into the palm of your hand. When you're flipping this, you get a lot of leverage because of the way that the handle is designed. The trigger is also a little bit lower profile than the Mark 6 and Mark 12. Because of that, it's a little quicker to get out of the pocket. This doesn't snag as easily. There's grip all over these knives. Now, I don't have any with milled traction inserts. These scales, of course, are removable and can be milled for extra grip on the side here. But I do have these available with grip, hand milled on here, hand stippled, and they come with a couple different grip patterns and whatnot. I do kind of a honeycomb golf ball texture that's really, really grippy. If you really want to get this knife out of your pocket quickly, that's the way to go, because you get a grip on the corrugated pocket clip here and a grip on that really grippy golf ball pattern texture, and this thing just flies out of the pocket. It's super quick. You also have a big long run of jimping here up the top that's carried over on the frame and the back spacer, which corresponds to some jimping here at the bottom. If you grab the knife this way when coming out of the pocket by the back and front of the knife, it still is really easy to grab the knife and get it out of your pocket. So the knife's designed for quick extraction. You get a lanyard loop in the back. This is actually a hinged back spacer. If you take the screws out of the pocket clip, and there's 3 screws underneath of that, you can actually hinge this back spacer up and really easily slip a lanyard onto this back spacer. It has a little hinge here at the back for disassembly and insertion of the lanyard. So you can do it really easily without having to mess around with the mechanical bits of the action on the knife. You don't have to take the knife fully apart to put the lanyard on it if you so choose. And I think that's a little more robust design than the older Mark 6, which was a little tough to get at. There's also no keyed or no size specific screws in the back here. One of the really the big bane of the Mark 6 was that it had screws in the back end that were fit. Specifically, they had to be reinserted in a specific order in the back. There were 4 screws, and if you mixed them up, then it would cause your scales to sit cattywampus. This doesn't have any of that. You'll notice that there are no holes down here from any screws. That's because there are screws underneath the pocket clip that hold the knife together that are actually blind drilled and then thread milled in here for a little bit cleaner look. And of course that kind of eliminates any holes that would create stressors or whatever. It is just a little bit nicer design in my opinion. This one here is actually jeweled on the inside, which has no purpose other than aesthetics, but it does have a big nice cut here, which you can really easily get your hand in to release the lock if you need to, even if you're wearing gloves, which some people might be wearing gloves, so that's what I have that for. You get a full 1/4 inch thick locking surface here, which is tungsten carbide plated. You'll notice blade centering's all perfect. Has the new pivot style in it, which has titanium screws and a stainless steel shank. It's really, really strong. Still has an internal pin system, or an internal stop pin. Some people like those, some people don't. I happen to like them because I think it looks cleaner, and that's a concession that I'm willing to make for aesthetics. Generally speaking, I think it's a really feature-rich knife. You'll notice that it is still a Bolsterlock, and these are an integral Bolsterlock. So this is a full-size, full-thickness Bolsterlock. It doesn't have any a smaller locking surface or anything like that. It is actually the full thickness of the frame, and you'll notice that, like all my knives, it tapers towards the butt of the knife. It's actually much thicker at the spine than the butt, and it goes from about 0.172, I believe 172 inches here at the bolster, to 156 at, or I'm sorry, not one. It's 0.72 at the front. I'm telling you the wrong thing, to 0.56. So it's still a very, very beefy, tough knife. The overall feel of the knife is very different from the knives I've made in the past because it has chamfers on the edges rather than roundovers. It feels more tactical, it feels more space age, kind kind of keeps it with the overall design aesthetic that I like with my knives, and I think it kind of fits pretty well into the family of Moon folders, with, you know, making some progress still. I really like the overall look of the knife. It came out really fantastic. So real quick before we go, got to answer the million-dollar question. If I want a Mark 10, how do I get one? Well, I don't do custom orders, just not organized enough for it. Sorry, guys. But I do function as my own retailer. www.willmooncustomknives.com. What I do every month, I'll take the production from each month. I'll basically build what I want and list it up on the website for sale. And anybody can come to my web store during the monthly sale and pick out a knife and basically just check out with PayPal like any other web store, and I ship it the next day. During the monthly sales, I ship the next day. Otherwise, it takes me a couple days to get into the shipping mode. You know, I am a manufacturer, not necessarily solely a retailer, so it's a little tough for me being a one-person shop. But during the monthly sales, I always ship the next day, and these will be available then. They'll be coming in intro priced at the same pricing as the Mark 6s and Mark 7s. So you'll be able to get base models for $6.99, slightly more expensive premium models, like for example this one here, for $8.59, which I think is still very, very doable for a knife like this. And I think overall it's a really great value. You're getting a really tough, I think, well-engineered, well-designed knife that's been really well thought out. I don't put together a knife, a new model, willy-nilly. You know, there's a lot of knife makers out there who are releasing models every month, and I'm not like that. I'll do a new model maybe once a year. And there's a lot of thought and a lot of effort that goes into these, a lot of design and a lot of engineering. So that's the difference between a Moon and some of the other knives that are out there. These are really well thought out knives, and I think they'll be fantastic additions to any collection. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to either drop me a note down in the comment section below on YouTube, or you're more than welcome to send me an email, support@willmooncustomknives.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Again, September 28th is going to be the first monthly sale where these will be available. They won't be available for pre-sale, so you'll need to drop by at noon Eastern Standard Time on the 28th if you're interested in getting one. I do anticipate these selling out pretty quickly. There's been a lot of interest on them, so make sure you're there. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. If you're not already, please go ahead and subscribe. It's totally free, I promise. I won't charge you for it. And bringing out a lot of new content in a few weeks' time. And hopefully I'll be able to be a little more regular on YouTube going forward. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate your time. See you later.